the old D.W. Griffith's, the site of Griffith's Biograph studio.
Oh, really?
It's right out his office. He didn't know that. He was he couldn't tear himself away from the window after I told him that. But,
you didn't know him?
I've met him, through an interview. So much too has been written about James Dean, and of course you and he were very close. What kind of influence did he have on your life?
Well, every time I smoke a cigarette too short, I think of him. I know that this is he says, "Boy, you really short." He says, "You really smoke your cigarettes short." I mean, I don't know. I do think about that. He had a big influence on my life. Get down, and I saw a man act that I thought I was really. I thought that I was one of the best actors in the world when I was 18, 19 years old, or on the way to being, and. Watching him on Rebel Without a Cause, I just, he was doing things that were so far over my head that I couldn't even comprehend them. I threw him into a car on the Chicky Run. I grabbed him, threw him into a car, and I said, "You got to tell me what you're doing, because I don't understand what you're doing." I said, "Should I go to New York and study, at the Actors Studio? And what should I do?" And he said, "Don't go to New York and study." Right. He said, Just do it. Do it, don't show it. That's what do you mean, do it, don't show it? He said, well, if you're smoking a cigarette, don't act smoking a cigarette, just smoke the cigarette when you feel like it, right? And he said, just the simplest things will become very difficult, but just do them, don't show them. He said, if somebody opens the door and you turn and look, and they got a gun in their hand, well, you may get up and make a joke out of your line of you're scaring the hell of me. What are you doing here? And but you got to see the guy. You got to see the guy, and you got to see the gun. And then you gotta react, however that is, and it doesn't have to be the same every time. You can say that a lot of different ways. But first thing is you gotta hear the door. Door opens, guy's got a gun, and you can say to the guy, "You're scaring the hell out of me." I mean, however it comes out, that's not to be supposed how you're gonna react to it. So to do something, not to show it. All right. He said at first the simplest things, like smoking a cigarette or drinking a cup of coffee, will become very difficult. And he said then pretty soon you forget about it, things will start happening. He said then if okay, so he gave me little advice, little tips like that. He said another one, he said, everybody tries to think that okay, I'm alone in a room, right? But in point of fact, I'm not alone in a room. Even though it says in the script I'm alone in the room, because there's a woman sitting over there, there's two men here, one sitting, one asking me questions, and one I'm directing or whatever, and one the camera and the sound, and there's a guy in lights, and there's somebody ticking down if I'm matching this shot, because I just smoked a cigarette. So I'm not really alone in this room. But until I can accept the fact that there are other people in this room, until I accept that as a reality, there is a camera here, and I'm not alone in this room, and then there's a possibility of me being alone in this room. Or for example, let's say that there's a script girl writing down to match, okay, I just took a drag off this cigarette, okay? I'm talking to you. She wrote down, I took a drag off this cigarette. That means when they come around and do my over the shoulder, I just put my hand over here. Now not only am I going to have to match this, but I'm going to have to match this too. Now I've done it twice. But I'm talking about, do you know what the weather's like outside? It's snowing. Or, it's snowing. The plane's not going to be able to come in. The deal's off. Now you know what that means, don't you? Don't you? She just wrote down that I'm pointing at you. I mean, it's using a simple reality that, like, you know, that you can find humorous, and you can even look at her, because, like, I mean, we're in a restaurant. You can look at her, you can look at him, you can look at, you can look over there, you can look wherever you want. I mean, people don't know what you're looking at, but I'm saying you use that. I did that. Now that can be, depending upon what kind of scene it is, whether I'm angry at you, or whether I'm, you know, explaining something to you, or whether I find it humorous that everything I'm doing, now I have to, like, you know, now I have to, like, reproduce this again, because they're going to do the two shot and the master shot and the close-ups and so on, and match this. You can take that in a humorous way, but that's a simple reality. And to come and say, you say hello to somebody, and they go, screw you. You go, wait a second. I mean, it's just moment-to-moment reality. There were simple things that he taught me that were very valuable. But one of the most valuable was to be able to use what's around you, that rather than, like, you know, shutting out, okay, I'm now alone, or like we are now in a restaurant, or we're videoing this, and that's what it is, and that's the reality of it. And thank God I don't have to match any of this. Wardrobe, makeup, but anyway, those things I learned a lot from.
There's really kind of technical things that really apply to film acting as opposed to...
Well, but then after Dean died, I came and studied with Strasberg. And Strasberg used to have us on the stage, and he would say, look at us, because we're real and you're real. We're real and you're real. And so it's not that much different than stage acting. You have to accept the fact that there is an audience out there, that you are on a stage before you can get into any kind of reality at all. I mean, it's the old story of the drunk coming in the middle of a performance and trying to find his seat, you know, or whatever. And if you're doing a comedy, I mean, you can use that as a humorous thing rather than letting it stop your performance and bother you. You can use that. If you're in a tragedy, you can use that guy's coming in here, and then he's in and he's screwing up my performance, and he's doing that. But you're not saying that. You're Biff and Death of a Salesman or whatever, I don't know, and you're saying those lines. But there's still a drunk out there that's coming in here, and then, you know, and you use that in some way. So it's not the difference. The difference is accepting the reality of the circumstance of where you are, because you're an imaginary given circumstance anyway if you're acting. And it's just learning to use the reality of what's going on around you to help reinforce you rather than to hinder you.
And like your second film with Dean, right, Giant,
Mm-hmm.
you had George Stevens directing.
Very short, James Dean, every time.
Yeah, George Stevens directing, because he was famous for the endless retakes. So I guess all of that, which you just explained, applying that to that particular film.
Yeah, Giant, yeah.
Because you had a director who...
shoots every corner of the room, they said. You know, no matter how small the part, whether he had one line or not, he would shoot every corner of the room. Yeah. Where's the other corner? Whichever corner. But yeah, there was a lot of matching to be done.
That was an interesting performance. It was a very restrained performance on your part in that film.
In Giant.
Yeah, that character.
Yeah, Dean used to come in and watch me, and then he would, without me knowing it, this is after I'd thrown him in the car without a cause, and also at that moment when I did throw him in the car, he asked me why I wanted to be an actor, and a lot of it comes out of like a love-hate relationship with your parents and wanting to prove something. And his mother died when he was very young, and he used to go to her grave, and he used to cry in her grave, why did you leave me, why did you leave me, why did you leave me, why did you leave me? And that turned into, I'm going to show you, I'm going to be something, I'm going to show you, I'm going to be something, I'm going to do something, I'll show you, I'll show you. And that we had in common. And that's not a thing of saying, I want to impress this audience, or like I feel powerful because I'm on this stage and I'm controlling these people's minds. It has nothing to do with any of that crap. All it has to do with is the fact that to work in the way that I've tried, and that Dean did, and that Brando does, and that Cliff did, and so on, is that you're working with your subconscious, and it's Stanislavski, and it goes to Stella Adler or Sandy Meisner or Lee Strasberg. Lee Strasberg was my teacher, and to trick your subconscious through a conscious means is like impossible. In other words, my father died. Okay, my conscious thing saying, okay, my father died, which is a reality. Okay, this last year, my father died. Yeah, my father died, but it doesn't have any emotional thing. I mean, to have an emotional thing, I have to I have to wipe everything out, get into sort of a position, like to a state where I can relax and feel the tension. Like I have tension here, I can feel it, and like try to shake out your tension, and like try to see where your tension points are in your body. And get sort of to a place where you try to wipe everything out of your mind. You don't think of anything in particular. And then through sense memory, which is not pantomime, you try to remember like what was I wearing? Can I see anything? Can I see anything? Let's see. Is there anything that I can touch? What was I touching? Was I touching anything? Okay, and so then you drop it, right? And like, and so how are you doing? So on, da 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 da. Your father's dead. What do you mean? I mean, you're kidding me. My father's dead? Well, okay, forget it. But like, I mean, you go for I've never tried that one. That's too close anyway. But like, you get a rep. I mean, you're tricking. You have to it has to come from something that you either the clothes you're wearing, the heat, the cold. It has to come from one of your senses. Your seeing, your smell, your hearing, your taste, your hearing, your touch, and the beep was a...
Well, it's like music does that too. You hear a song that just takes you to some other time entirely.
So, and once you've gone through a memory, a sense memory into an emotional memory, at that point, it's always the same object, or it's always the same sound, or the smell, or the taste, or something you saw that will spark it off. It'll always be the same thing, but you've got to trick yourself into not hearing it. You can't just. You've got to hear it, just like that. And you've got to be able to shut it off, man. And if you're going, and so like you can be doing something else.
Yeah.
But it's always the same. It'll always be the same sound. It'll always be the same smell. It'll always be the same thing. But they wear out.